We're on this computer. Cool. This really only is important for sensors people. The rest of you want to pay attention? You can. All right. What is a class? How do I use one? I'll answer the second question first. You already did. You didn't know this. Python has a lot of built-in classes. One of them gets you the date. On your first homework, you imported date time, and then you made an object called date time, and you printed something from it. Date time dot date dot today. Run. What do we get? Why did nothing come out? Come on. Aha! Here we go. There's today. How did this happen? Somewhere in a library is a class of objects called date time. It has some functions involved with it. They call this methods. And once you create a date time object, you can use any of these methods. Let me show you. Here I'm going to make a new object. It's called a C. What's that? We'll give it nothing. I really hope this doesn't kick back an error. Oh shit, it does. Ignore all of that. Start from scratch. New class. The only thing that's important is rockets. Class rocket. We're done. What can you do with a rocket? We're going to give it a function or a method. Every class has a default method called the init, double underscores. And we got a self. You see PyCharm here, very smart. It says, oh, I see you're calling the init. Do you want me to include self? I say, yes. Thank you. What is self? Self is this specific rocket. You can have several rockets. They'll all have their own properties. So when you call a function within each rocket, you call the self with it. You don't have to include it. It happens automatically. And then it can access things about this rocket. Let me show you. I'm going to start with giving the self of the rocket some fuel. Cool. That's it. We're done. Now I'm going to make an actual rocket, call it first rocket equals a rocket. Oh. That's it. So what are we looking at here? This is a new variable that I've just made. And I'm saying it's going to be an object of the class rocket. The computer, or I should say Python, knows what a rocket is. We already defined it up here. And the first thing that happens, the very first time that you call the rocket, is it runs this function, the initialization, or init. It creates this variable, self.fuel. And if I want to know, because I'm curious, what is the fuel, I just have to call first rocket.fuel. I'm going to print this. We print. Boom. 100. You see that? So what's happened here? I've made a rocket. The first thing that happens, I make the rocket. It assigns some fuel. And then here I'm asking to see the fuel of this rocket. I'm going to make it more complicated. I'm going to give this rocket a name. And the first thing I'm going to do with that name is save it. Here, we'll call this new rocket name. It's going to get the new rocket name. So now, when I first call this rocket initialization, I'm going to give it a name. The name is Mark 1, because it's my first rocket. So now, I can also print the name of my first rocket. First rocket dot name. And if I run this, what do we got here? There, it knows the name. It knows how much fuel is in it. Let's make it more complicated. Yes! We're going to start back to the initialization function. The new rocket name, I give it a default default value, which is no name. What is this? When you first call the initialization function, or any function, it expects you to give it a name. In this case, the new rocket name. That's the variable. You don't have to. If you don't, it will automatically give it this name. You can have several variables and provide defaults for all of them. For instance, I could start a rocket with an arbitrary amount of fuel. How about new rocket fuel equals 100. That's as wide as we're going to go. So now, my fuel equals new rocket fuel. Awesome. So now, when I run this, I'm going to give it the name Mark 1 and also say it starts with only 50 fuel. This rocket is in for a bad time. I'll run this. What we got come up here? The name that I gave it, the fuel that I gave it. If I don't give it anything, it's going to come up with the defaults. No name, 100 fuel. But if I just give it the fuel, 50, what happens? It's given 50 to the name, because that was the first variable. Now check this out. New fuel equals 50. It says, hey, what is this? We get an error. Some languages will let you do this, where you call it out by the name. I don't know how to do that in Python. My recommendation is you only call it out in order. So I'm going to make this a new rocket. Mark 1. The fuel, we're going to be generous and say 150. This creates a new rocket with this much fuel. And if we wanted to get really clever, we could add all kind of other variables, such as the position of the rocket. I'm just going to start it at 100. This will start to look very familiar. How about the velocity of the rocket is 0? How about the thrust of the rocket is 0? So now, when I create this rocket object, and I give it a name, and I give it default fuel, it also has all of this stuff, which will make it really easy to make the calculations, because you don't have to carry those lists of variables anymore. We recall when we first did the rocket homework, we started by saying this is the position, this is the velocity, this is the thrust. And if you make 2 rockets, you have to do it twice. Not anymore. They happen automatically. Very cool. What else can you do with a class? Well, you can have a different type of variable. So these, anything that starts with self dot fuel. This is specific to each rocket that you make. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make another rocket called second rocket. It's also a rocket. Cool. The name is, it's a good name for a rocket. How about Mark II? That's an excellent name for a rocket. And now I can call up the special variables for that rocket. Second rocket dot thrust. Boom. Cool. There's the 0 for the second rocket's thrust. I now have 2 rockets, and they have all of the same initial variables unless I give it something different in the fuel. Maybe some things I want to be shared by rockets. How about how many rockets I've got? Count is 0. So the default value for this variable is 0. But every time that I make a new rocket, I'm going to increase that count. Count equals count plus 1. Get a little error here. Local variable count is not used more. Unresolved reference. Give me one moment here. How about you know, I swear this was working earlier today. What's going on? Let me have a peek at my cheat code here. Of course, I forgot the scope. Yes. So, this count belongs to this object, or I should say this class, rocket. So anytime I make a new rocket, I'm going to increase the count to reflect that there are new rockets. So I'm going to create my first, well, let's just start here. First rocket. How about print rocket dot count? And then I'm going to print another one after I make the second one. Rocket dot count. And I run this. What do we got here? 1 rocket, 2 rockets. Very cool. 1 rocket cannot change the self parameters for another rocket, but it can change the self parameters for its own rocket, and it can change this, I'm not going to call it global, but it is shared parameter. This will be very useful. Let's say I have 30 rockets, and I want to know how many have crashed. If you don't need to know the specific rocket, you can have any of them update that variable. You're launching rockets, you're landing rockets. They can all change it. Very cool. All right. That's the init, or initialization. What else can I do with a rocket? Going to make some functions here. This is going to look really interesting. Not really interesting. I apologize. It won't do that. But it is going to look very familiar. I'm going to define an update. And it automatically populates with self. Cool. So these formulas will look very familiar. How about self.fuel equals self.fuel minus self.thrust? Yes. And it automatically, oh, what am I getting here? Too many blank lines. Thank you, PyCharm. You're always watching out for me. And self.acceleration equals gravity plus thrust. And here I'm getting some errors. Thrust. What is thrust? It doesn't know. It says you never used this before. Oh, you're talking about self.thrust. Error goes away. Gravity. We've not defined gravity. Unresolved reference. gravity. So we come up here before the rocket class and we define gravity. Done. This important thing, instance attribute acceleration defined outside init. I forgot my acceleration. So dot acceleration equals 0. Thank you, PyCharm. Now we can use gravity because, of course, it was declared before the class. How about we update the position? Start with the old position. We're going to add the velocity. And then we're going to add 1/2 times the acceleration squared. Cool. And then what else? We got to update our velocity. Oh. Self dot velocity equals the old self dot velocity. Thank you. Plus acceleration. I know this is very exciting stuff. The last thing I'm going to do is we're going to check and see if the rocket has landed. How do we do that? We check to see if the position, self dot position is less than or equal to 0. We're going to print rocket landed or crashed. So now, gotta have our colon here. Thank you. I'm just gonna hard code this as the thrust is 0. We'll leave it at 0. Fine. We'll make a rocket. I'm calling it Mark 1. I'm not gonna define a fuel. The default is plenty. And then I'm gonna go to this first rocket dot update. You never have to give it the self. It already has that. In fact, if you try to give it from outside, you're going to have problems. So now, if I update the rocket, what do we got? Nothing happened because nothing gets printed. I'm going to make a new function. How about print status? Again, got to have that self. And we're just going to print, how about, we're going to start with the name of our rocket, and then the position, and then the velocity, and then the remaining fuel. Dot format. What do we got here? Self dot name, of course. Self dot position. Self dot velocity. Self dot fuel. Cool. So now I should be able to just call this first rocket print status. Done. And then again, first rocket print status. Done. Run it. You see what happens. This is going to blow your mind. This is so cool. Yes! What happened? My position has gone insane. What's going on? Let's see. Thrust is 0. Fuel has not updated at all. Oh, it wasn't supposed to. Why is my position gone crazy? Position is the old position. Velocity, self dot acceleration squared. Our acceleration is, not acceleration squared. What am I thinking? Let's try again. All right, much better. This looks just like the old code in terms of numbers. Let's see, there was one more thing that our old rocket did, which was to get the thrust. I'm just going to make a new function here called get thrust. And I don't want to type that all out, but it did basically this. Just copy this out of my old code here. All right, what's going on? So, dot fuel. First thing we do, is the fuel greater than 0? Because if there's no fuel, I'm not even going to ask how much thrust you want. If you give it too much thrust, we're going to trim it down. This is exactly like we did before, and I'm going to chastise you. We're going to say, hey, you're burning too hot. If the thrust is negative, we're going to trim it to 0. We're not using this right now. And if the thrust is greater than the fuel, oh, what are you yelling at me? Oh, I don't need these. If the thrust is greater than the fuel, then we trim the thrust. Cool. And then we print the name and that we're out of fuel. And now I think we should have a complete rocket game. How are we going to do this? How about we're going to print the status and then check. Wow, the first rocket is greater than 0. The position is greater than 0, I should say. We're going to, I'm going to put my colon there. We're going to get the fuel. Sorry, get thrust. We're going to get the thrust. We're going to do an update. We're going to print. Don't fail me now. Yes! All right, there's our position. We ask for the thrust. I'm going to say 0. It's done some calculations. Thrust again, again, again. We crashed. I didn't put the explicit did you crash, did you not crash code in here, but you can. That's not a hard thing to do. But you also wouldn't learn. Oh, what do we got? Sorry, I use a lot of parentheses in my other languages. I speak English and C. That's a joke. I also speak MATLAB a little bit. Any of you use MATLAB? Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. So now we've got our first class rockets. Now let's make a whole bunch of them. Yeah. How are we going to do that? Check this out. I'm going to make a fleet of rockets. Fleet equals. You guys remember how to make a list, right? Right. So I'm going to call this one. I got a whole bunch of items here. I'm going to make a rocket, and I'm going to call it Rocket 1. How about just R1? And I'm not going to give it any extra fuel. And I'm going to make another one. It's also a rocket. R2. I'm going to make another one. It's also a rocket. R3. And if you were clever, you would figure out how to do this with a loop. It's not hard. So now, let me nuke this. I can call this up and say, fleet. How about we print? Fleet first rocket dot name. What have I got here? Oh, of course, fleets are zero index. My mistake. And I'm not going to print this anymore. We're done with that. All right. What? Here we go. R. You know what? I'm going to change this to R0 and R1. I feel stupid because the list uses zero index. Now, if I call, let's look at how many rockets there are total. Rocket dot. Oh, sorry. Rocket dot count. 3 rockets. Excellent. Let me show you a really cool trick with lists. I'm going to add another rocket using this function, append. What is append? This is like when you're writing to a file, you open it, you want to write something just to the very end. You can remember because append has the word end in it. So now, I'm going to add another rocket to the end of my list and call it, oh, how about R3? No, the last rocket is going to be called Mark is great. Now, how many rockets we got? It's going to be 4. What's going on? It says, built-in function or method object has no attribute get item. I don't know what the hell that is. Thank you, sir. No, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. What am I doing wrong here? Parentheses, not brackets. I think we're good now. Yes! All right. Now, let's say we got a whole bunch of the same object, such as our fleet of rockets. Gonna make a loop here for how about I in fleet? I is for index. I gotta put my reading here. What does this do? For I in fleet. Python knows that fleet is a list. So when you say for something in a list, it's going to go through one at a time and let you do something to it. So I'm going to print here I dot name. This is going to give me the names of all my rockets. Oh, I got to destroy this. I'm not using this anymore. Pardon me, let me run that again. All right, what have I done here? I have made a list of rockets. I've added one to it. And now I've printed out what they're all called. So cool. And now you can see, oh, it would be really, really easy to make a game with multiple rockets. I can tell you're very excited. How about we trim this down to 2 rockets? And I'm going to start the second one with R1. The second one is going to start with 135 fuel. Oh, that number looks familiar. Maybe you saw it in your last homework. Why are you yelling at me? This list creation could be, I'm going to ignore that. I don't know what that's all about. And so now for each rocket, I'm going to run the get thrust. Nice. And how about also after that, then I'm going to run the update. Dot update I dot print status. Cool. So I'm gonna run this now. What do we got? Thrust for R0. Give me nothing. We're in free fall. I don't care. Thrust for R1. Maximum thrust. We're not landing. We're taking off. Mark is great. Oh, of course. There's a third rocket. I forgot. All right. And now we've got our 3 updated positions. Very cool. Gonna make myself a little while loop here. How about, well, how do we know if all the rockets are landed? Also, I'm going to trim this down to 2 rockets. Mark is great, no longer flies. I'm going to go back into my rocket class here. And when we do an update, if the position of a rocket is less than or equal to 0, I'm going to remove it from the list. Or sorry, I'm going to reflect that by removing it from the count. You don't know, this minus equals business, this is a shorthand. This is the same as rocket equals rocket dot count minus 1. Yeah, Song knows, this guy's a nerd. He loves programming every day. He thinks only about this. Okay, so now all of my rockets start in the air, and I'm just going to check to see if they're still in the air. Wow. Oh, I don't need these parentheses. I don't keep doing that. Wow, rocket dot count is greater than 0. Colon. Thank you. Give me some tabs. Boom. But now I'm gonna check here if I dot fuel. Oh, no, we don't need to check that. Well, I dot position greater than 0. We're gonna get the thrust. And if I dot position greater than 0, we're gonna do the update. So now, let's play again. Thrust on R0, no thrust. Thrust on R1, give me 10 thrust. Now we've updated both of those. We play again, 0 and 10. As you can see, R0 is going to crash. R1 is just chilling. Nice. All right, what do we got here? A rocket has landed. That was R0, as we can see, is now at minus 25 position. It has made a crater. It landed in the silo. And the program now only asks for the remaining thrust. And thankfully, we have enough fuel left. I'm going to land the rocket. Do I have enough fuel left? Oh, this could be very bad. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, man. This is terrible. Well, all our rockets crashed. It's really hard to fly 2 planes at once. Maybe you guys can figure out an autopilot. That would be a really good method to add to your code. How about new homework? Define. Go land yourself. You don't have to. That's a That's an English joke. Usually we say go something else yourself. You don't have to actually do that. That's like the most basic, how do you use classes for anything? Any questions about classes and how you use it for anything? My recommendation is that if you define a class for something, you define it in another program, not another program, excuse me, another file, and then you import it. So someday you might have a class called gas sensor. Sounds likely. You might have a class called temperature sensor. You might have a class called an ADC. You might have a class called a GPIO. Let me tell you what's a real pain in the ass when you got an ADC. You might say, Mark, I love to type. My favorite thing in the whole world. Every day, I want to do nothing but open slash system slash bus GPIO device 0, whatever. You remember this from last lesson. It was awful. You had to write it out so many times. Let me tell you a better thing you can do. Define a class. Put this in a method. How about read? All right. That sounds good to me. And maybe when you initialize, you give yourself a number. As you will recall, there are 6 ADCs on the UDO board. And to read each one, you kind of got to change these numbers around a little bit. This would be a really excellent thing to define once when you first create the object. So right at the beginning, when you initialize, fine, init. Oh, we're not going to read this number. You define your ADC, you're going to give it a number. First thing I would do, self dot. Why are we not? Oh, whoop. Excuse me. How about self dot? File name. Or just file even. Because you remember that reading the ADC is just reading from a file. How about self dot? Yeah, self dot file. I think that's fine. And then you're going to have that big long string. Remember that, but also you're going to add in this number. And then also some stuff at the end of it. And now you never have to call on this again. It's going to remember. That would be a really good thing to incorporate in your homework. Save yourself some trouble. I tell you what, I already wrote that for you. You're not going to get to see it until you do it yourself. If you go to Google and just search for UDO Neo ADC class or library, it's already there. I won't give it to you unless it's the day before the final presentation and you still haven't figured it out. Then I will give it to you because I don't want to see you fail. Very embarrassing. But if you get it done before that, come to my house. We have a party. We have a barbecue. It will be great. My advice to everyone on Census team, finish your project early. Then we just hang out. We tell English jokes. We drink American beer, if you like American beer. We swim. We barbecue. It's going to be great. Maybe we talk about Python a little bit if there's time. So I'm going to upload this code onto the shared drive so that you can all see it. Comment this out because it's nonsense. My experience with coding is it is always easier to start with someone else's project and make some small changes. If you have something that already works and you make a little change, you probably have something that still works. It's like if you just need to fix one window in your house. The house is already built. You just have to change the window. That's easy. Much easier than building a house from nothing, including the windows. If you have a house that's already built, you can fix the window. Later you can fix the door. Another day you change a light bulb. The day after that you fix the deck. The day after that you fix the toilet. All these things, one at a time. Maybe later you build your own house. You already did everything once. All right, so you looked at the calendar and you saw that this class was 2 hours long. That's crap. That's too much. We just had a class yesterday. We just had a class the day before, and I don't have any office hours until tomorrow. We're not going to do 5 hours of class before office hours. That's nonsense. So we're going to have an office hour right now. If you're working on sensors, then you have some problems with your UDO board, with your digital read, any of that. We'll talk about it now. If you're not on sensors and you're still really curious about classes, you would just love to learn more about Python classes, you go to this website. This is a really, really good resource. I'm going to share this tip with you. Python classes. Now you do have to be careful here because a class has two meanings. This is a class, but also what I'm talking about is a class. So like this one here, this is an advertisement. Python coding course. You don't want that. Google's Python class. You don't want that. Wow, there's a lot of classes here. How about right here, the Python tutorial? That sounds good, except this is Python 3. Ugh. Oh, there was a slider right there. How about 2.7? Thank you. I'm going to share this link with the whole class. Look at all this great information. Where my classes at? Classes. Oh, there's so many of them. Look at all that. You can ignore most of it. Don't read all of this crap. Here we go. We get to the meat. Class definition, class objects, and so forth. What I've given you will be enough for this course. Unfortunately, we have only 5 weeks to actually learn and do something. My recommendation is you try to learn everything in 4 weeks, so you have the last week to only do stuff. If you're still learning about Python the day before the presentation, probably it's too late. For this reason, I will not give you more than you need. But if you're curious, I can. Historically, like last winter, the summer before that, the winter before that, the summer before that, Sensors team has always had trouble finishing. Always. They're just not getting their data at the end, or their code doesn't work, or the UDO board is not connecting. They have always had trouble. I think it's better to have a project that works than to have a project that doesn't work, but you know all about Python classes. You think, oh, well, my next project will work because I'm smarter now than I was at the beginning. For this reason, I'm truncating the course. No more about classes today. But we will do office hours right now. You can do personal practice if you want. And I will share this code with the course. Anyone has any questions? All right. Bring it on up. Or I can come to you. Either one. You do related? Make it happen right here. This is my favorite. I gotta say, I did not like the you do board at first. I like it a little bit. All right. Let me toss this. All right. Oh, iPhone. Is you do waking up? I'm just gonna put these here so I don't lose them. Right down here. All right. Do you want a chair?
No.
Okay, good.
No. I can't turn off the LED.
You can't turn off the LED.
I made red on and red off, and I use red on and red off, but that's still on.
Oh, very interesting. But you did turn it on. You know what? That's the first part. I think it will be very easy to fix this now because it's already half working. How old are you?
Fine.
I'm 31. Yesterday with dinner, I had 2 glasses of wine. I thought this morning that I would die. I woke up, I said, holy shit, how much did I drink last night? My girlfriend, she looks at me and she says, you had 2 cups. How old are you? Oh my God. Getting old sucks. When I was a young man, 3 cups, 4 cups, no problem. Not anymore. Don't get old if you don't have to. We're still looking for alternatives. Yeah, exactly. Drink more Gatorade, less wine. Let me just put my user in this box here. All right. Just stop really fast here. So, this is your code that you wrote. And so we've got this the same on both.
Code and
Your GitHub or that's excellent. That's really good. I love them. Okay. So E24, right? And value 0. Okay, so we start with red on, for a second, red off. We put green on. Well, this isn't the problem. So we should have one. But anyway, you say this is not good. So here's our output. Now, if I run this, oh, very pretty. Okay, so the red is not turning on. Well, are any of them turning off? So red and green should make yellow for this color, right? Each other red. This is what I'm gonna simplify. Do the other colors turn on? Yeah, I want to run it with just the red, just how about look at this boom. Edit. Control Q. I would not have guessed that. Okay. Okay. How did you get this on? How do you get this on your YouTube board? Oh, you just access it through Notepad++ because it shows up as a drive. Very good. This is excellent. Wow, that is way better than going to Python or not Python, Git or any of this crap. Okay, but the Git will be useful when it's not connected to the computer. Okay, this is excellent. So now, oh, of course, because we're still in Python. We're still running. So now, I run this. That's an interesting test. So this one now, it works. Red on, red off. But before, it's not turning on. Read this. I'll comment this. Take this. Oh, try again. Red on. Oh, the red does not turn on. Oh, it sometimes does. So, Yeah, here. The one thing I noticed is that you never close this file.
Maybe that's a problem. We do, value. Well, 그건 안 되고. Before I did that, it didn't work. You try this, that doesn't fix anything. But you try again.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I expect that this isn't it, and we have another serious problem. What's going on here? Okay, I'll try this again. You told me it didn't work.
I tried.
You tried this out. What team are you on? What team are you?
Hey,
You're trying to make his team fail.
I told him.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah. That's.
But I did
You're
that.
saying
But
about-
when I tried this one time, I did that. But it's not similar. It's similar code, but
Maybe not
I
the same.
did.
Yeah, you know, one key difference. Everything. Well, I would say that this coming together pretty good. Help you with your code?
Yeah.
I would love to do this. for you.
Just checking.
Yes, of course, of course. You have more work to do, I believe. All right. What do we got going here? So this is your name. All right, input time, input direction, right line. Oh, and again, you never close the direction file. Oh.
Because people I tried that, but it doesn't work. So I. But I'm gonna.
So, what happens if we run this code? What do we expect? First, we we turn all the directions to output. That's good. We define LED value is open. In X value to right, right to either a 1. And okay, so here's what I noticed. First, you open the file, you never close it, and then you open it again. I don't know what happens if you open it twice, but you also never close it. So, LED double. Oh, you turn on value. LED on 224. So what happens when we run this code? What happens if you try to run the code? You said this doesn't work?
No, it works.
Oh, it works.
Yeah.
Everything works. But you want to know, what do I think of it? Do I like your code? This is very important to you. This we call,
Not good.
oh, you don't think, but you want to improve your code. Okay.
Okay, but easy. Do I have to?
Do you have to improve it?
It's not improve, just do I have to fix it?
Well, you told me it already works. I believe you.
I will show you.
No. But, what maybe something I would do to improve it. Improve your code. Make your code even better. I would have a function called define LED, and it's going to take as a variable color and then in here we'll just have this here. We open the file and then write the string of the status. So that's what I would hope. I would have value equals open whatever, and then value dot write status. Parentheses that as a string, and then I would close it just to be safe. And I would put here at the beginning some definitions. So I would do like right at the top. You define red, return 25, and then define green, return 26, and then define blue, return 27. Now your code at the bottom will look something like, LED red on, LED up. Then we have our sleep here, time dot sleep on, and then LED red off, and then sleep again, and then LED green on. This is how I would do it. And then at the end, you can always have all three. LED, red, on, green, blue. Because right now, the way you have it written, if you want to have three LEDs at the same time, you need another function. LED triple. That's crap. That's crap. So this is what I would like to see. I think this would be more useful, especially in the future. Other situations.
could also, if you were really, if you wanted to, you could make a class with the LEDs and have a method to turn it on or turn it off or whatever. But I think this is fine. I think this is right. Rocker. You what? Oh, you turn it on, turn it off. Okay. Come up here with us. Get out of this. All right. Let's start changing the directory to nothing. Where are we? This is the root. Oh. All right. So if we look for the digital output, it was in GPIO. Thank you. I'm going to change directory. GPIO. And I'm going to list what's in there. Let's use pins 25, 26, and 27. So I'm going to go here to pin 25. This is everything you can read and do with pin 25. So here, value. If this is the value, let's open that up. And value 0. This is off. Get out of here. If I change this to 1, now it's on. That's it. That's it. You just gotta write this number to change. Thank you. How to get it? So we go back here. Go to home. Okay, I see that you have made a file, digital I/O test. You're gonna open that up. Well, you're almost done. You're almost done. You're not really done yet. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make a file. You're gonna open the file. This is the handle. Remember, file, handle. To open, and you're gonna give it. I don't remember what this is. I think it was this GPIO pin 25 direction done. And then you're gonna write into file, file handle, and I'm gonna write. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're gonna write, you gotta tell it. Thank you, Dave. Writing it down. I'm gonna write out. You only get 2 choices: in, out. Okay. Out. And then we're gonna close that. We're done with it. You want to set the direction now? We're gonna have to open a new file. Same thing. But now, value. Again, we're gonna write to it. Thank you. And then handle dot right. You want to turn it on? You give it this. You want to turn it on? You give it a 0. That's it. That's it. That's all you got. And that should make it turn on. You want to turn it off? You just replace that with a 0. My recommendation: you make a function that does all of this crap for you. No, like what I would do right here is really cool. How about on pin 25? On. Now these. Now that's fine. You want to turn it on? All you got to do is call this. Done. Oh. Want to turn it on? Pin 25 off. But you're gonna have to make another function. If you're really cool, you're gonna do a pin 25 direction. You set it to be an output, or you don't have to do that. But anyway, this is what I do. And some people discovered that if you import the time, then in here you can do some cool time dot wait. For one, time is an object. I mean, on for 1 second, off for 1 second. I think you will find that this helps. Of course, we won't know until we get the LED in there, but I think that's a good start. Frankly, you're welcome. Dave, what's up? Okay. Okay, I'll be right here. Doing important stuff. What you want to? Let's do it tomorrow. I'm very tired today. I think right after this class, go straight to sleep. No, I made this.
You should email
Okay. Next lecture, I'll see make a sandwich.
it.
You guys don't know how to make a sandwich? That's the same thing. You slice an onion, you put it in the sandwich. Yeah. Uh-oh. Get out of there. Where's your, wait, no, go back, head up. Now the next one. All right, virtual box, host only, network. Okay, go this. Yes. This is it right here, USB. Oh, it's not an RNDI 6. Is it? I don't think that's it. Double click. And there. Okay. We open this. We got nothing. I'm pretty sure that this is incorrect. So, thank you. How about device manager? Correct. This is not the device manager. All right. Oh, you got a touch screen.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
And that's important.
All right. Update driver? What is this one? I think we just have to wait. It's update. Okay. Okay. Microsoft, this is not correct. Take this one. How about this one? Remote NDIS adapter?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the one. Goes add. Now. Ah. Okay, so here's the thing, it's giving it now a new IP address. Because we got this. I do this one, I'm gonna just go here. Go into properties. It gave it a new IP address because the virtual box is the same one. So come up here, add, 1, 6, 5, 1, 3, 7, 1. Five. Close that. Close that. Now we file the computer. We go here. Share with number 2. Now, we're not okay. Now, I can do it. How do you switch Korean to English? Boom! That's how we do it. Okay. This is pin 25. There's grab. I'll grab it. Anode. So, pin 25, anode, to the resistor. 24? Where is 3.3 volts? Everything should be on. Who puts this crap back in the bag?
DFT.
What?
DFT. DFT.
DFT?
DFT.
What you're saying?
She did.
Oh, Nia did. Did you do this? You found that your LED was broken. You stole one from Dave. You put the
Oh,
broken one
here's
in.
my LED.
Oh, okay, well.
Hey!
A false accusation. Now you have to fight.
He's a liar.
나도 검도 Wow, 10, 25, stretch, open, out, close. All right? Okay, so you open it, the value, you write the line. You sleep for 5 seconds, and it should turn on and then just stay on. Oh, it's fine. Okay. Oh, we're just doing this on 5 times. One word. Up. There it is. Oh. Okay. The rocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
그거랑 나노로 내가 똑같이 돼요. 그러니까 AIM이 나노 안에 코드 이걸 넣으면 근데 이거 풀어서 거기다 넣으면 준비 안 돼요. 이걸 다른데 이건 되게 한 번에 합치는데 이거는 이거는 이제 아까 함수 빨간 걸 그러게요. 여기 들어가서 그러면 그 언어로
Better than yesterday. Okay.
저는 홈에 갔습니다.
Of course, it doesn't really I believe you. Otherwise, it can make a great program. Arguably, it should be lower if it knows everything. If you're making you can use uppercase. Okay. This only does one rocket. This is terrible style. It was words, but it's ugly. Two things I don't like about it. One, that you don't need this. Here you're getting I. So already here. What I would do is have it as here another article instead of taking it from the global. This other one, if that's all you're fine with it, you should just put this line down there. But that one, great.
More.
Oh, that is a new line. I don't know this character. You said let's see. So it's telling me again that the first one is so here's while this is running, it will always go through. The first thing it does in the loop is it checks to see if there's fuel. There's no fuel. Or it checks to see if there's this is working correctly. Because when the first rocket crashed, we stopped asking for the fuel. So here, if one position one, the behind both rockets back. And then if the position of each one is zero or less, here's the you never change this variable. Up here, you said it was running, which is true. You never make it false. So of course, it will go through the loop forever. And every time it goes through the loop, the position is still negative. So it never, or position is still zero, so it never asks for the fuel. And then it does the update. And it stays as zero. And never, or I guess it doesn't even go to the update because you don't give it. So it's just going to be but here's the thing. It goes through it twice, and so this condition is still true. It's still printing. And it's still calculating every time it would crash. So here's what I would do. Well, several things about this. But the first thing is you need to have a check to see if there's any rockets still crash or still flying. So you can do it real quickly and just, instead of asking like while it's running, you can just check, you know. What you can do here is say in your code, I could just say if position 0 is equal to 0. Position 1 equal to 0. Oh, double equals or then running equals false. I think you will find now that this fixes all of your problems. Okay, so it should run. Okay, the first rocket crashed, the second. Crash now. Alright, back on. One crash. Okay, now let's talk about why your code sucks. Okay, this loop. What, you think this is funny? This is serious business. Okay. So this loop for and in the range. This, you don't need this loop because you pass the number. So it runs through this loop only one time because it always stops before it hits the input one. Why just leave this? Move this back in. It will do the same thing. Every time you're only doing for one. What you can do though is instead, so what you're doing is you're calling this number with Russian, right? Because you're here, right? If the position is greater than 0. See, you are calling it with the loop 3 times, but each time you change the start and the stop. So this is the same now. This is unnecessary. I think you did the reason for this is just not quality. Okay, so for 0 2 Here you're just checking to see if this ends up to be right. If I is 1, then so what you can actually do is this and just move this to be done after the loop. You don't need to check if I just always have to go after the loop because it then goes to this. Although you don't, it does print space. What I would also like to do is print this one time. Once each rocket is landed, you don't have to print it. It crashed. Also, the print here, I would like to see the name of the rocket or the number of the rocket, so I know. When you're asking for the trust, also you should have. Well, it comes in as an entity, but then if you turn it into a city, you can print it. Others. Now, oh, now rocket 0, rocket 1. Just do it after one of them crashes. Good. Good, good, good.
Shit, I forgot to upload the Zoom video. It might still be recording.